We are all engaged in the pursuit of pleasure in some form or other, intellectual, sensuous, or cultural pleasure. The pleasure of reforming, telling others what to do, or modifying the evils of society, of doing good, the pleasure of a greater knowledge, greater physical satisfaction, greater experience, greater understanding of life. All the clever, cunning things of the mind, and the ultimate pleasure is, of course, to have a God. Pleasure is the structure of society. From childhood until death, we are secretly, cunningly, or obviously pursuing pleasures. So, whatever our form of pleasure is, I think we should be very clear about it because it is going to guide and shape our lives. It is therefore important for each one of us to investigate closely, hesitantly, and delicately this question of pleasure. For to find pleasure and then nourish and sustain it, it is a basic demand of life, and without it, existence becomes dull. It becomes dull, stupid, lonely, and meaningless. You may ask why then should life not be guided by pleasure? For the very simple reason that the pleasure must bring pain, frustration, sorrow, and fear, and out of that fear, violence. If you want to live that way. Most of the world does anyway. But if you want to be free from sorrow, you must understand the whole structure of pleasure. To understand pleasure is not to deny it. We are not condemning it or saying it is right or wrong. But if we pursue it, let us do so with the open eyes. Knowing that a mind that is all the time seeking pleasure must be inevitably find its shadow, pain. They cannot be separated although we run after pleasure and try to avoid pain. Now, why is this mind demanding pleasure? Why it is that we do noble and ignoble things with the undercurrent of pleasure? Why is it we sacrifice and suffer on the thin thread of pleasure? What is pleasure and how does it come into being? I wonder if any of you have asked yourself these questions and follow the answers to the very end of this question. Pleasure come into being through four stages: perception, sensation, contact, and desire. I see a beautiful motor car, say, then I get a sensation, a reaction from looking at it, then I touch it or imagine touching it, and then there is the desire to own that, show myself off into it. Or I can see the lovely cloud or a mountain clear against the sky, or a leaf that has just come in springtime, or deep valley full of loveliness and splendor, or a glorious sunset, or a beautiful face, intelligent, alive, not self-conscious, and therefore no longer beautiful. I look at these things with intense delight, and I observe them. There is no observer, but only sheer beauty like love. For a moment, I am absent with all my problems, anxieties, and miseries. There is only that marvelous thing left. I can look at it with joy, and the next moment forget it. Or else the mind step in and then say the problem begins. My mind thinks over what I have seen and thinks how beautiful it was. I tell myself I should like to see it again and again so many times. Thought begins to compare, judge, and I say I must have it again tomorrow. The continuity of that experience that has given delight for a second is sustained by thought. It is the same with the sexual desire or any other form of desire. There is nothing wrong with this desire. To react it perfectly normal. If you stick a pin in me and I shall react unless I am paralyzed, but then thought step in and chew over the delight and turns it into a pleasure. Thought wants to repeat the experience, and the more you repeat, the more mechanical it becomes. The more you think about it, the more strength thought gives to the pleasure, so the more mechanical it becomes. So thought creates and sustains pleasure through desire and gives it continuity, and therefore the natural reaction of desire to any beautiful thing is perverted by thought. Thought turns it into a memory, and memory is then nourished by the about it, thinking about it over and over again. Of course, the memory has a place at a certain level. In every life, we could not function at all without it. It is own field, it must be efficient, but there is a state of mind where it a very little space. A mind which is not crippled by memory has real freedom. That becomes a free mind and you feel relaxed.